of EIT Food's 5th Annual Summit. And also a very warm welcome to those of you joining us online from across Europe and around the world. And of course, those of you here in Riga. And this, of course, is the first event that is taking place in the Baltics with EIT Food. My name's Jennifer Baker. I'm still an EU policy journalist and presenter, and I will be guiding you through today's agenda. Now, yesterday we heard about the trio of missions, the missions-based approach that EIT has adopted after consultation with the community and with stakeholders that will hopefully drive us towards the future we want to see, a sustainable and healthy food ecosystem. We heard about healthier lives through food, we heard about the net zero food system, and today we're going to be focusing more on that third mission, which is reducing risk for a fair and resilient food system. Now, of course, as with yesterday, we are going to hear from our startup community and their innovative ideas. We will hear those quick 5-minute pitches from them, and then we'll move into a plenary session where we will have discussions with experts also linked to the same mission topic. As yesterday, please use the hashtag EITFood23. I know in particular our online audience was sharing a lot of thoughts far and wide, and hopefully making those who can't be in the room a little bit jealous of all that's going on here. During the breaks, we will have the opportunity for network sessions. There's a lot of opportunity for that built into the program. As always, you can use the app, go to the conversation starter, and set up your meetings for one-on-one meetings with those partners that you want to collaborate with, and that will generate your own personalized agenda. And on that, you can also look out for your breakout sessions. We've 2 rounds of breakout sessions today, so it's going to be a run between rooms for some of you, but it's going to be hopefully very engaging and interesting. With that, we are going to start today with a keynote speech. So we're going to hear about the importance of collaboration between academia, research, industry and startups to reach our mutual goals on the EU level. And to present that from Riga here, one of our hosts, we have Liena Brede, Vice Rector for Innovation at Riga Technical University, member of the European Innovation Council Board and a member of the board at the Latvian Startup Association. A big warm welcome to her, please.
Good morning. It's a big pleasure to be here and start this wonderful day. And I thought, what exactly I should tell to this room, because I totally agree that I'm not the smartest person in the room regarding the food system transformation, but I have some my own views that I would love to share with you today. So let's take the transformation, what exactly it means. I'm an old-fashioned person. I didn't choose use a ChatGPT that everyone uses right now to ask the big questions. I started with a very simple thing. I Google it. What exactly is transformation? And fun fact is that basically this is a really big journey, right? When we have talked about it, that we should transform, we need to transform food system, we need to transform all climate system. So all the time we talk about these systems. And then what we also do, we try to figure out how we can change it. There was some part of my work life that I was passionate about system innovation. It was a big deal. So we tried to educate other people what exactly it means, how we can find the impact point, right? Because you need to change system with this impact point, and etc., etc. But let's step back. Transformation is not only about the system. So I have this slide clicker. Okay, I will use it because nobody will choose the slides now. But so the transformation is basically big change. And the fun fact that Google said that all of you have transformed when you get your driving license. Do you have a driving license? Yes? Only one person. Okay, there's more. So you get married. Yeah, so did it transform your life? Yeah, so, and then the Google said that basically all the people are looking for transformation vs body transformation. So it's all about before, and after. So you were unhealthy and then you are healthy. I also choose one picture. So then there's a guy who's unhappy, maybe overweight, and then during the time, these are this happy person and right? So, and the interesting part is that transformation in this sense is quite clear why I'm doing that. Because in the end of the day, I will be more happier, more healthier, I will have a long, nice life, etc. So it's quite clear. Regarding, and this is my personal journey, my personal ambition to be there, and it's clear, I will get there. If we talk about system, the main question is what I will get from it. What exactly from this transformation will be my value? And this is a big question, right? Because no, we need to do a lot of things regarding the ecosystem, etc., etc. Great, but what exactly I will get for it? And question is, if we go back to this man, and I'm sorry that I use his picture, but it was in Google, so during the journey to become more healthier in this transformation, is there a place for collaboration? Do I need any collaboration to get happier, healthier, etc.? Yes, maybe there should be a trainer, maybe there are some food coaches, whatever, so some support system. But the collaboration, I need to collaborate with myself. The transformation starts with me, and then I can move forward with collaboration. So, and what exactly it means when we start with ourselves? First of all, it's downgrade your ego, because this is that ego who's screaming, but the food is really nice, and I like eat at night, and why I need to do a sport, and etc. So this is something like comfort zone, and that's great, and I'm already happy. Why I need to do something? So this is when you start with a little bit downgrade your ego and say, no, we will go out of this comfort zone. The next is this rebuild your value system. So what exactly is important, and then can be a next step that basically you are taking responsibility and taking the risk, right? So nothing new. Then you make decisions and changing most of the actions, because it's quite clear to become more happier, healthier, etc. You can't do the same things that you did before, right? So you need to full basically full action line, it's completely different. And when you already transformed as a person, you are ready to cooperate. Before that, it's our inner work. And then you are ready. So, and then we go to the system. The system, if you talk about the food system transformation, right? So this is the main topic of this event. So the system itself, it's a lot of different kind of stakeholders who collaborate with each other for one goal. And question is, let's be honest. If really in the food system or food value chain, all the stakeholders have the same goal, what do you think? Do they have the same goal? No. If it's so, then if the transformation is possible, if all the stakeholders have different goals. If really. So, and then the question is, how we can move this transformation with the common goal, how we can find this common goal, and if it's possible, and if we can drive this transformation driven by values, and it's quite uncertain. And I would say, regarding my experience to work in different Europe levels, Europe is not ready for uncertain situations. We wanted to have the frame. We have a framework, you remember? Europe framework, this kind of framework, etc. It's all about frameworks. Framework. So, but transformation is uncertain. We don't know what happened. We were not ready for pandemia. We were not ready for Ukraine case. So it was, what we should do, and then it's house, and nobody knows what exactly will be next step. And, and then all our leaders show the real face, how they can deal with the house, that it's in Europe, it's not okay. It's not okay to make mistakes. We need to, do this. If the system, this Europe system, it's ready for transformation, my answer is no. We need to change the way how we work, and then we are ready for the transformation. This is something that it's uncertain. So, and then I moved to my question, because they asked me to talk about collaboration. And I use, so everyone knows, triple helix model, now it's quadru helix model. I use a triple helix model. Basically, I took out the government. I'm sorry for that, but I will stick to this. So there is industry, startup, and university. Hopefully you enjoy the pictures that I use for each stakeholder. It was with meaning. So, and we need to understand, when I go back, the transformation, the system, we need this common goal. And all different kind of frameworks are used to push this collaboration, right? But let's be honest. To transform something, system, person is, it's important to mention that it's the most complicated system in the world, human body, yeah? So, but anyway, so the main question is, are we okay with failure? Because failure is something that is part of it, part of this journey. Are you okay with failure? What is failure for you? And I use this free stakeholder attitude, so to a little bit show how it looks from my perspective. So first of all, let's take the industry. What is the value for industry? It's money. So goal is money. More money, less money, but it's about money. Then we go to the time. So it depends from industry, but basically they are medium proactive or fast. Basically, the dynamic of the time, it's medium. Attitude, it's no failure. Why? Because it can threat your core business. So if you do all the experimentation part in your industry, like in-house, all the failures, it cost money, and it can threat your main business. So you choose not to do that. So then we go to the university. Main university value is knowledge. We are about the knowledge powerhouse. Time, we are slow, because if you wanna build the knowledge, engage the knowledge, transfer the knowledge, it's not one-day question, right? So scientific organization is the most oldest organization in the world. So we can't be fast. It's not the result that we can deliver fast, because it's impossible. Attitude, so we love experimentation. And the fun fact, when the failure comes, it's a new possibility for innovation, right? So it doesn't work. Let's continue to research what exactly would work. So the failure in university, it's impossible. So it's okay to have a failure. It's an experimentation result, and it's totally fine to move forward with the next result, with next research. And then we go to the startup. I would say the value is impact or the scale up. So for startup, it's crucial to survive. And time, they are extremely fast, because time is money, right? So you are not able to just sit and waiting when something happens. Attitude, they want chance, so time is money, as I mentioned. So on the game, it's a lot. And possibilities, I believe that all the startups think you know, if I fail, that's great. I'm even closer to my unicorn, because the manifestation is that every great startup has at least 10 failed startups before. So failure is totally okay with them. So, and the question is, are they able to collaborate with all this setup? And what would be the common goal? And if it's possible to really transform the whole system. So, and I believe we are ready for this transformation, but we need to change the way how we collaborate. And with the first, we need to start to trust to each other. And there's a lot of assumptions about the industry, they want from university only money and etc. So the knowledge, they want to, you know, take all our best researchers, etc. It's not the right attitude to start this collaboration. Regarding the startups, it's the same. So who they are, they don't have a knowledge, etc. There are some fun guys and girls who is doing something we don't understand, etc. So no, we're trying to find this best line of collaboration, and we start to trust each other, trust to each other competences, and basically, or the core value proposition that each of these stakeholders have. We need to find a common value that knowledge is an asset that we have, and there is different kind of knowledge that have industry, that have universities, and have startups. There are different kind of knowledge, and it's not that university knows everything, or startup knows everything, or the industry knows everything. No, the knowledge is the main asset that we have at the moment. And failure is the new direction. It's basically the risk tolerance that we miss. And I believe in Europe, it's missed not only in this case, but overall. We're not taking any risk. But let's do some risk. There's no possibility to transform something in your life, in your system, without the risk. And then I call that speed control. You know, as I mentioned, if the industry is medium and startups are fast and university is slow, so don't try to make university faster or university trying to slow down the startup. Let's find a common speed that we can agree on and work on it, not, again, based on a lot of assumptions that who should do what and how fast it should be, that we can do it together. So there's some speed control is really important. So I would encourage you to start this transformation from yourself, to find your purpose, why you do that, and then I believe the system around you will also change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liana, for that inspiring opening to today. I think we're going to hear a lot more about all the topics that Liana mentioned there as well. We're going to move on now to our semi-rapid fire startups round, where we will hear pitches from the new innovators. And this cohort that you will hear from now are under the mission reducing risk for a fair and resilient food system. And we're going to put the spotlight on those startups. And as yesterday, I'm pleased to hand over to run this session to Nargis Shakir, who is the Rising Food Stars Manager. Thank you very much.
Hello, good morning, everyone. And here we go. We are on our third round today. So we will be seeing how entrepreneurs are building more resilient, transparent, and trusted food supply chains. And today we will hear first from One Third and Fresh Sense about their technologies that are aiming to predict shelf life for fresh food and avoid waste at retail and warehousing. And in the same scope of shelf life extension, we will also have, excuse my German, Die Fresh Manufacture. Did I say it right? Okay, I practiced. Who will tell us more about the first ever infused water with fresh cut fruits and how they are basically extending the shelf life of those fresh cut fruits in the water. Then in the area of agri-tech best practice, we have with us also Ecolife that will tell us about their ecological biolution and biostimulants. And to close the series, then we will tackle one of the major focus areas that we have in Mission 3, that is about regenerative packaging. And here we brought to you an amazing solution from Yangi, who is manufacturing a dry-formed cellulose-based packaging from paper pulp. And with this, we will close the last series of pitches today. I really hope that you enjoyed this quick and very intense tour of some of our most impactful startups. And following on what we just heard, I really look forward to seeing many collaboration opportunities coming out of this event for our startups. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning. My name is Marco Snickers. I'm the founder of 1/3 and happy to kick this session off. And it was great hearing the first speech because I think collaboration is definitely a key topic in my presentation. 1/3 helps stakeholders in the food supply chain to prevent food waste. And we do that by predicting shelf life of fresh produce. We started in 2019. We're 12 people and we've raised so far 6 million euros in funding. The last one being in February with impact investors, Shift Invest and Pim Wimmick. And we expect to raise a round next year. So 1/3, you've heard the number before. 1/3 of food is wasted. But let's just visualize this. Take an area the size of China, grow food there, harvest it, and then throw it all away. That's what we do year on year on year. And it has a huge impact to our planet. 10% of all CO2 emissions are caused by food waste. And we're using 25% of our available water on food we never eat. That has to change. 40% of food waste is fresh produce. It's the largest category. And why? Shelf life. It's typically short, so we are in a hurry. It fluctuates over time, and you can see some reasons why. And the fact is, we don't know shelf life. We have no clue. We're in the dark, and this is causing unnecessary food waste. So how do we work with our customers on that? We've developed a system where we scan produce, and using a database and AI algorithms, we're able to predict shelf life within a day accuracy at each chain of the supply chain. And I'll give you an example. Albert Heijn just announced that they're working with us in the supply chain of strawberries, and so I'll use that as a use case today. So shelf life's unknown, but there's still a date on that package, the due date or the takeout date. And so when produce goes through the supply chain and the retailer or the logistics people find out that product is not so fresh because they can see it by eye, the grower is not going to get paid and the produce is wasted. There's no time to do anything else. On the other hand, on that date on the package, which is not accurate, people in the store are taking produce out and throwing it away. While we know that 80% of the time, due to our data, shelf life is actually longer, 1, 2, 3 days longer. So we're having unnecessary waste. So how do we change that? Well, first of all, at the growers, we scan the produce and we know the real shelf life, and we're changing that due date. Now, the retailer now has often more days to sell the produce. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. So that's more revenue, less waste. And they're willing to pay the grower a premium if the grower can guarantee that. So that's a win-win. On the other hand, if the produce is not so good, and the grower already realizes that, knowing the data, they can divert it to other causes. It could be processed, it could be going to a farmer's market, and he's preventing that unnecessary waste. In this specific case, we're actually also changing the logistics supply chain. So right now, or what used to happen is that produce would go to one big central DC in the Netherlands, and it's checked on quality because they're uncertain about it, and then it's moving to the stores. Right now, they are redirecting directly from the grower to the stores, saving an extra day of logistics, an extra day of sales in store, and for us as consumers, we have fresher produce to buy. It's all a win-win. So if we look at that, we expect together with Albertijn that we'll be able to save 25% of the current food waste. And also because we're more efficient and we have a digital platform, we're saving on labor throughout all these quality checks. Obviously, the challenge here, and this has to do with collaboration and some of the things mentioned today, is that we need to get the whole supply chain lined up to maximize these benefits. And we need to have their priorities straightened out, and that's always a challenge. So if you have ideas on how we can accelerate to make more impact, please let me know, find me in the hallway, we'd love to talk about that. We measure ourselves in impact. So we expect by 2027 to prevent 150 million kilograms of food waste. And we're doing that together with the supply chain. Now, if you find this interesting, find me in the hall and see how we can prevent even more food waste. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Hello everybody, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Darina and I would like to show you amazing things that we do with bacteria. We developed completely new ecological mining technology. However, what we found out in this technology, we do something even more valuable for agriculture. And why? Because world farmland is often exhausted, contaminated, microflora is destroyed due to intensive usage of agrochemicals, and nutrients are often not accessible to the plants. That's why plants are unhealthy, weak, and this leads farmers to use even more pesticides, more fertilizers, which we then have in our food, in our water, and it's kind of vicious circle. That's why also European Commission wants to stop this, but what should farmers do? And they are under pressure, political pressure, increasing prices for energy, for fertilizers, so it's not easy for them. And we have for them solution. We can help to the transformation. That's our natural weathering process, called also bioleaching. And we bioleach minerals. For example, silica sand. We turn it from completely brown to very nice white sand with bacteria, then usable, for example, for glass industry. What is very important because world is facing to global sand crisis, and we have last 20 years for supply to glass industry. However, even better thing is that all minerals like iron oxides, hydroxides, mica, feldspar, carbonates, all is becoming liquid and providing nutrition to the plants. And these bacteria, during bioleaching process, they produce a lot of different acids, organic acids, bacteriocins, alcohols, and this all is supporting plant growth and also stimulating hormones and siderophores. And this process would happen in the healthy root system. And then immunity of plants, health is increased, yield increase, and also additional benefits like sugar increase, root system increase, and resistance to abiotic stress like water stress, cold resistance. And this is our production. We don't need any special bioreactors. We do it without volume limitation, no energy consumption. We take sand rich in iron, which we want to give to the plants. We make it liquid. And we have billions and billions of probiotic bacteria just in 1 liter. And they produced lactic acid, butyric acid, acetic acid, formic acid, fatty acids, and many other. Also bacteriocins, very important for diseases. Alcohols for drought resistant, this is well proven, and proteins like reuterins, this is all making plants very, very strong. This is other type of ore production. We have several in Europe. This is in Gelsenkirchen, where we take silicified residue after coal mining, and we selected this one because it's very pure, it do not contain nothing toxic. However, it contains all 17 essential nutrients, and we make it liquid for plants. And additionally, it's so green because there is microalgae, chlorella, which you know from food industry, and Theobacillus bacteria, producing other type of acids, and very important protein, rusticianin, making plant resistant to the frost. So we saved apricots and nectarines this season, and also increasing chlorophyll. So the photosynthesis is better, that's why plants are stronger, and oil and protein increase in the plants. So just few quick examples. This is from Amrun Island, barley, how the yield is nicely different, right? Then we tested with BDC Institute different diseases, and it was very, very effective. Erwinia almivora, Pectobacterium carotovorum, and also at the largest grower of herbs in Slovakia and Czechia, they were able to completely replace conventional fertilizers and even achieved higher growth. Also in hydroponic system, less viruses in tomatoes, anti-heat effect, and also anti-frost effect, which I mentioned. Strawberries, 60% increase in yield were irrigated, 48% increase in yield when sprayed, also sugar increase, that's all without pesticides, and also for root vegetable is miracle. We won several prizes like Prize of Wageningen University, BASF Prize, and many, many others, and we work with big food companies where we bring evidence to their farmers how we can help them. We have several distributors telling they never seen such product on the market, and also a lot of happy customers. And we are here looking for partners who wants to work with us to help to their farmers, and also research institutes to bring all these evidences, and because together we can achieve more. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hello everyone, my name is Anna and I'm the founder of Yangi. And today I'm going to talk about where you put your food, in the packaging. And together with my team, we are on a mission to reshape the world of packaging. So let me tell you how we're going to do that. But first, let me give you some insights on who we are and where we are going and what we need to be able to go there. Back in 2014, I discovered the beginning of dry forming technology in a potato farm in Denmark. I brought it back home to me, and after 10 years of R&D, we now have a complete packaging machine solution that is ready to be commercialized. We have the possibility to become a global packaging solutions company to replace rigid plastics at scale with our technology. But to be able to go there, we need like-minded, purpose-driven partners like yourself that could help us in our journey of the transformation. And do you know that every day, the average consumer handles around 50 types of packaging every day, and the majority of the packaging is made of plastics. And if we continue on our current track, CO2 emissions by 2050 will double from plastics alone. So our mission is clear. We want to fight the plastic problem, we want to reduce CO2 emissions, and furthermore, we also want to secure resources that is important, like energy and water. And that's why we have developed the Yangi dry forming technology. With our technology, it's actually possible to reduce CO2 emissions by 75% compared to other fiber-based solutions. And we can also do this by actually using minimal amount of water in our technology, which is really disruptive compared to other fiber-based solutions. And by using renewable and recyclable materials like cellulose and replace plastics, we have actually secured a future-proof and sustainable solution for packaging. And with our technology, it's possible actually to reduce 25% of all the rigid plastics without compromising on functionality. And to be able to actually help the industry to shift into our technology, we have developed a business model that is not only supplying a complete machine solution, but also helping packaging producers and brands when it comes to packaging design, customized material recipes, and also when the machine is up and running, of course, service and support. And we have given this a lot of thought to really adapt to the needs of brands and packaging producers. And now we have a model that is ready to be launched and help the industry. And the good thing is actually that the consumers already today are making more conscious choices. And the packaging industry are actually also offering more sustainable solutions, where plastic-free claims have increased by 150% the last 3 years. And furthermore, I mean, governments are also now implementing legislation to reduce single-use plastics. And the trend is here to stay. The market is now adapting to all this legislation that is also pushing for more recyclable materials. The market potential is huge, and if you only look at the growth today, we would have a potential to actually sell 320 machines per year. And adding material sales to that, it is a scalable business for us. So if you look at the forecast we target a break-even in 2026, and we see that we could actually reach 450 million euros in turnover by 2040. We, in our company, we believe in action, we believe in innovation, and we also believe in collaboration, which is, of course, the most important thing, as you heard earlier today. And over the years, we have worked hard to build strong and trustful relationship with different partners. And just don't take my word for it, this is some of our partners in our ecosystem, and hopefully we will have more. And that's also why we have joined the Rising Food Stars program. Over the years, we also worked with different brands in proof of concept projects within cosmetics, within dairy, within fresh food, and also consumer-based packaging. So where are we today? I mean, we are ready. We have a team of 30 people already, and we onboarded our first investors last year. They see a bright future. We have 6 patents pending, and we now are ready to sell the machines this year. And why we have joined this program is that we hope that maybe some of you will join us in our journey to actually reshape the world of packaging and secure the future for our generations to come. I hope to show some materials that I have with me, and I have it, but I have only 2 hands. So please feel free to talk to me and learn more about what we can help you with. Thank you.
Hello everyone, thank you for having me today. My name is Baran and I'm the CEO and co-founder of FreshSense. I will start with a question. Do you like cherries? Please let me see some hands. Yes, perfect. Now think about it. Have you ever bought some cherries and some went bad faster than the others? Right? And if there was a technology that could extend the shelf life and predict which one will go bad first, would you use something like that? Probably. We asked the same question to the growers, and they said yes, because their supply chain is broken. The FAO estimates that post-harvest losses for fruits and vegetables can reach up to 40% annually. And FreshSense is here to fix that. We use a controlled atmosphere module, an IoT respiration sensor, and AI algorithms to extend and predict shelf life for fruits and vegetables. And how it works? Now imagine you're a grower, you harvest your produce, which is the result of a year-long hard work, and you must put them in a cold room as soon as possible to reduce their respiration. Yes, you heard right. Fruits and vegetables continue to breathe, just like you and I, after harvest. And you need to suppress that respiration in order to extend their shelf life. Cold alone is a great tool to do that, but not enough for extended storage. What you need is lower oxygen levels and increased carbon dioxide levels. So, to achieve that, you use our controlled atmosphere module To check everything inside is okay, you use our IoT sensor. And to predict the shelf life and rearrange your sales sequence, you use our AI platform. This is how we extend shelf life, extend and predict shelf life, and reduce our customers' waste and increase their margins. We finished our MVP last summer. We got our first investment from Startup Wise Guys. We were invited to Fruit Logistica Startup Day at the beginning of this year. And our last achievement is being accepted to the Rising Food Stars program, which is why I'm here and very grateful for. We work with Turkey's pioneer companies in fruit and vegetables so far, and we increased their shelf life and sales price of cherries and pomegranates more than 2 times. We recently finished our trial with asparagus, and we have scheduled trials for blueberries and figs. But we won't stop there because we designed our technology to cater a more wide range of perishables. I spent my life in cold rooms and packing facilities for fruits. I built one of the Turkey's biggest packing facility back in 2018. I saw their pain points and joined forces with Cem, our CTO, an engineer with a PhD in wireless communication, and Çağrı, our CSO, a full professor and a top-notch researcher on technologies such as artificial intelligence and Internet of Technologies. We have a core engineering team of 5, and we are getting advice from simply best in the industry. So, FreshSense is committed to changing the way we store and transport perishables with a sustainable one. If you are interested, please get in touch with me. And as we always say, invest in FreshSense to keep it fresh. Thank you for listening.
What is the oldest and easiest way to flavor water? You just put a raspberry in it, a piece of lemon, and you get a fresh, fruity taste. So why can't we buy that in the supermarket? We heard a lot about food waste. The product lasts 2 or 3 days, and then it goes to waste, so nobody lists it. So we found a solution to make this product last for 3 months. And now we really can put only the fruits, they flavor the water, and you get a very natural taste. We think this is the next step in the evolution of drinks. They started like 200 years ago with very sweet sodas. Then people wanted less sweet or less sugar. So it's now with sweeteners. Then they wanted more natural. So now we have flavored water with artificial or not so artificial flavors. And now we are the next step. We are the real natural drinks of flavored water. We have a case study where we are selling at a bakery, and we are selling like 9 times as a very renowned brand that is also part of the EIT program. And customers buy our product, and then they post it on Instagram, so we don't have to pay anything for marketing because they have 27K followers and we don't have to pay for it. But our technology, this is only our first product. We can make other products last longer. We use nano coating based on vitamin C, and we can apply it to other products. We have 1 patent granted in Germany. We are now extending it all over the world, also funded by the EU. And we are working on more patents. And what is the new product we have? We can make fresh cut fruits last for 4 to 6 weeks. Normally also fresh cut pineapple lasts like 2 days. And with this, there's enormous amounts of applications possible. And the first one we want to work on, and we started already this year, is yogurt with fresh fruit. And now it's possible to make the fresh cut fruit last as long as the yogurt. This is our production for the water. We can produce, in theory, 760,000 bottles per month. We are just on our way to scaling up there. I have a very experienced team of a serial entrepreneur, a cook with star experience, and a very renowned sales director. And yeah, we are looking for contacts to help us with the yogurt product and for investors. And yeah, if you want to try it, it's in the shelves in Germany at least, and we're working to get to Europe.
Well, thank you very much indeed to all our pitchers, and of course for hosting this, again to Nargis for her work yesterday and today in setting the scene for those pitches. As yesterday, we're now going to make a link between the startups and our panel discussion, and it is again on the third mission, reducing risk for a fair and resilient food system. So we're going to talk about that, and we know that to improve the safety for consumers everywhere, to deliver to them what they want, we need to make that link, as has been highlighted by the European Union's farm to fork strategy, along all the lines of that supply chain. We want things to be resilient, dependable, and digitally enabled. So drawing on some of the new technologies to actually make those deliverables a reality. So reshaping food environments is critical for food systems and sustainability, and we want to create food environments that shape the future. So we need policies that are going to work for it across the entire food chain. We need proper regulatory efforts that are going to deliver, and we need new business models, all of which are tricky to deliver, but all of which seem tantalizingly within grasp. So we're going to have our panel discussion to talk about that. As yesterday, we're going to use the Slido tool. So you can go to your smartphone or your browser if you're joining us online, scan that QR code, or you can just put in slido.com and the hashtag is environment for this panel. No need to download anything. You can be anonymous or you can include your name. We're happy to have both, and we will do our best to get to as many of the questions as possible. I can't promise all. Based on yesterday's experience, we had more than 100 questions come from audience yesterday, so we won't get through all of those in an hour, but we will hopefully get to as many as possible in this panel discussion, reshaping food environments to enable a change in consumer behaviour. And the man tasked with the challenge of moderating all of that, please welcome to the stage Professor Klaus Gunert, Professor of Marketing at Aarhus University.
Yesterday, the first panel discussion was about the role of farmers in the green transition. And it's only appropriate that the last panel discussion today will be about the role of consumers in the green transition. I'm a behavioral scientist. I do research on consumer behavior with regard to food and drink. I'm also leading the new EIT Food Consumer Observatory, and I've been doing work on the role of consumers in the green transition. Consumers, by their choices, have to approve or can reject everything that is being done in the food chain. Consumers, by their choices, also have to pay for everything that is being done in the food chain. And for that reason, consumers are crucial. It's crucial to have consumers on board in the green transition because they can delay or they can speed up the process. And for that reason, we have this panel session here today about the role of consumers. Consumers are actors, they make decisions, but consumers don't make these decisions in a vacuum. They make these decisions in choice environments. And it's these choice environments, these food environments, that we can change if you also want to change consumer behavior. So that is the topic for this panel discussion here, and I would like to welcome the panel members here. We have Mieczysław Matsulewicz, I hope I got that reasonably right. He is HR Director and member of the Corporate Responsibility Team at the Rimi retailer here in Latvia. Welcome. We have Maja Krusma. She is professor at Tallinn University, and she is a chief scientific advisor to the European Commission. Where is she? Well, in the meantime, welcome to Anja de Cunto, who is a team leader with regard to food at Eurocities. And I hope we'll get our last member on board here also in a second. In the meantime, while she finds her way to the stage here, Mitch has agreed to come with some introductory remarks here. So please, you're welcome to take the stage and address the topic from the viewpoint of the retailer.
Oh, Maria is there.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Can I get that? Thank you. Good morning again, and it's exciting to be here in this panel discussion. And I'm going to speak on behalf of a retailer. So those of you from Latvia or from the Baltics, hopefully you know as well as our customers. Those of you who are guests to this country and city, please take a moment during your trip and become familiar very closely with what we have to offer. We have some good things, healthy and sustainable produce, and other things in the grocery business. I've been asked to be very quick, so I'll try to walk through the remarks in a very quick fashion. But when it comes to our mission, and I really liked the opening speech because it talked about the importance of values and mission. I mean, what we're tasked to do is we try to provide a shopping experience of tomorrow, but also, creating healthy and sustainable choices for our customers, and do that on a daily basis. So small increments. But when you think about the beautiful aspects of retail businesses, small increments combined by the number of customers, combined by the amount of shopping trips, etc., can make a truly big difference. When it comes to diving into what we're trying to do about the food environment in the retail space to promote healthy and sustainable choices, one of the things that we have been working on for quite some time in the Corporate Responsibility Board is defining our health strategy. Okay? And we have set our health strategy on 3 pillars. And the first of them, and possibly the most relevant for this discussion, is really about healthy eating. So we're really trying to ensure to create, encouragement, awareness, etc., to help our consumers consume 400 grams of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis, according to the health organization's recommendations, but also really work with our store environment to make healthy and sustainable options very easily identifiable and present in our assortment. On top of that, we're also encouraging physical activity and mental well-being, but those may be deeper dive topics for some other time. And some of the key things that we're very proud when it comes to achievements in this space is we have our Rimi Good For You label, so kind of a green circle on the price tags and the products. And we have been continuing to expand that line, and it has been continuing to gain appreciation of our customers. But also we have worked really with the full supply chain. Exciting to share that we have reduced food waste already by 26% compared to 2016. And we have really worked both through donations, markdown projects, as well as cooperation with startups in that space. But also when it comes to other aspects of sustainable supply chain, be it packaging, be it who we source from and what we source from, we're very proud on the work there as well. However, we do face challenges, and I'll kind of put the challenges for this discussion in 2 particular groups. The first is the kind of hyperinflation environment, in particular in the Baltics over the past year, has had a very clear impact on consumers and customers' preferences and behaviors. So the importance of price, or price perception also, has significantly increased. So kind of asking how do you then promote and market healthy and sustainable choices in that context. The second thing is, when it comes to food, there's also a lot of social and cultural aspect in it. And when we look at the societies here in Baltics, in particular in Latvia, we do have a certain challenge to deal with, as the consumption of, for example, fruits and veg is still far from where we would potentially try to promote it to be. So when it comes to how we're going to deal with that, future plans are quite simple. We're going to continue to work on the health strategy. So we're really going to try to work on that fruits and veg consumption acceleration. We have our private label line, which is extremely popular with customers, approximately 20-something% already now, and then keep trying to introduce more healthier options there. And of course, continue to build on our really good for you assortment. But then, of course, there's also the work across the full supply chain. So we want to continue working on halving the customer's climate impact. We're climate neutral. We're trying to get to kind of climate zero by 2030. But also we really want to work on the food waste. So 26% done, more to go. So very exciting ideas I saw already here. And then continue to work, of course, on packaging. So that's it.
Thank you, Mitch. May I just ask you one follow-up question, maybe with regard to what you just told us? You're doing various things in order to promote both healthy and sustainable choices. But you also mentioned this development, which is recent with inflation and rising food prices and so on. Do you think this is a major hurdle? Can you see that in your business, that people have become more reluctant with regard to healthy and sustainable choices?
Well, it's a question that's hard to answer it with one simple thing, but I'll definitely say that the customer behavior is changing, right? And the importance of price in decisions, we definitely see that that is increasing. But again, I think whole part of the journey on food environments is also to actually work with ideas how to make the healthy and sustainable options some of the most affordable ones. And I think a very important aspect is price perception, because we just saw this beautiful water product idea. When you look at the packaging, does it tell you affordable, does it tell you premium? So those are the choices we need to make as a retailer when it comes to building the assortment and how we position it. But definitely there is space to continue working on that.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Retail environments are obviously one of the most important, maybe the most important environment in which consumers make choices. We know that a lot of decisions with regard to what people are buying are made in the store, actually. So this is of crucial importance also for the green transition. But there are lots of other environments in which consumers also make choices. Anja, would you broaden our horizon a little bit and talk a little bit more of these other environments?
Yeah. So let me start by saying that usually we don't associate cities with food policies. It's something, food is always produced outside of the cities. However, 76% of European citizens live in cities, and 50% of people living in rural areas are in immediate vicinity of a city. And in the recent years, there has really been growing evidence of the role, and the cities are as a place where some of the solution for food system can be found, but also some of the actors. And if we accept the role of food environments for consumers' choices, we also accept that certain choices are beyond consumers' control. They're very much related to affordability, to also the cultural context, economic context in which they live. So this is why now we are witnessing really how much we need to go beyond this consumer's rhetoric and really enabling a range of policies, among which food policies. So this is what we are seeing. We're seeing now at Eurocities this mix of health policies, food policies, education, awareness, but really going beyond. And what we are witnessing is that we can act on availability, affordability, accessibility, desirability, and really, affordability. I didn't really say affordability. And especially in cities is very much in relation to urban planning, the role of urban planners, I can say, making, for example, certain type of retailers less available, but also banning certain type of advertisement. I will be happy to share some of the new solutions cities are finding there. And of course, in all public spaces where cities have a control, in particular the food canteen, public food canteen. We think very much of schools, but it's also hospitals, it's also prisons, it's also every kind of public establishment and university, for example. So here it's really like how we need to go beyond this idea that is always about the consumer's choice and the consumer's responsibility, and really tackling some of the systemic issues of food system, which is mainly food security and affordability. And for this, you need a variety of policy and a variety of actors.
Yeah. In the retail environment, it's the retailer who makes the decisions about how the environment looks like. The environments you're talking about are much more complex. So what are the major groups of actors that you are appealing to here?
So we think not only of consumer, but we think of citizens, so empowering citizens in making choices, and particularly acting, as I said, on social security. We know there is quite a rise in food insecurities in Europe, so some of the action are very much related, as I said, in affordability. So Riga is one of the cities that is providing this citizens card support for people in need, and it's very much, you can only purchase food that is of certain quality and type, so you cannot purchase unhealthy food products. Then, as I said, there is some stronger choices, is really ban on unhealthy food establishment. There is a strong correlation between usually what we see, really certain type of the neighborhood where you have certain type of economic, so really what you have when you have in certain type of cities, you have neighborhood where you have really strong correlation between lack of green areas, high level of pollution, high level of unhealthy retail food environment, and then also certain economic circumstances. And these all lead to higher level of obesity and a higher level of non-communicable diseases. So we keep on seeing that it's not only really a rational choice that citizens can make. Sometimes it's really beyond their control. It's really, and this is why we need this mix of health policies to work on that. Then there is also the issue of course, public procurement. What I mentioned before, the public spaces. And here cities are really, they're really going beyond what they usually will do by providing food to children in particular that is healthy, that is sustainable, working on education, awareness, but also nudging choices. So this entire role of choice architecture that is also very recent.
Yeah. So, Maria, you are part of this initiative to provide advice to the European Commission with regard to coming regulation and legislation relevant for the green transition based on the evidence that we have on consumer behavior in different environments and so on. And we know you're not yet allowed to talk about the recommendations you will be coming up with because they will be published in the beginning of July, right? But can you say a few words about which direction it is going or what are the major considerations that you have had there?
Yeah, thank you. It was very interesting also to listen about the viewpoint of a retailer, because this is exactly also what scientific evidence points to. When people make their decisions about what to purchase, and the first thing is price, second is taste, and third is availability. And if we want to make food healthy and more sustainable, we might have to make it relatively cheap, tasty, and available. So that's kind of, you know, we talk a lot about educating people, making some food literal, but there is a little bit of concern, which is even not as scientific, but I would say ethical concern, putting all the responsibility into the end of the value chain, and all this responsibility of making ethical choices, healthy choices, sustainable choices will fall on a single mother doing 2 shifts and grabbing whatever she can between them, instead of distributing the responsibility along the whole value chain from the producer to the single mother with 2 kids doing 2 shifts. And it's very nice to see that Remy very well understand where he falls into this, you know, into these puzzles. And when it comes to legislation, this is exactly what the European Union has to do. Regulate or not to regulate in right places so that the responsibility would be distributed evenly and not just put wholly on the weakest link in the whole chain.
Yeah. And could you mention maybe a few areas in which legislation could help in that process?
A very unpopular one is taxation, but scientific evidence points to that taxation really works. As you said, price is the first argument when making your purchasing decisions, and if you tax higher unhealthy food and lower healthy food, so that actually a lot of scientific evidence, for example, with sugar tax and different experiments, point to the directions that taxation actually has a value, as opposed to, for example, labeling, which has a limited value. You have a label saying that this is a good one, but it seems to work just people who are educated anyway. And yes, taxation is definitely one. Yeah. But maybe the most important one is that Europe, it's a very big, complicated beast with, all these different member states having their own agendas and regions having their own, and everybody is also very different from each other. And I think the role of European Commission is to, a big buzzword is Brussels, is harmonization. But it's exactly what it means, that you have all these measures you have towards healthy and sustainable food to place so that they work towards the same goal, but not against each other. Would it be taxation or something else?
Yeah. Thank you. Mitch, how would you react to this here? Because in a retail business, you may have mixed feelings about national and EU level legislation creating new constraints with regard to what you're allowed to do.
I think there's several aspects to comment, because again, as with kind of price levels, the same with taxation, right? I mean, or other regulations, it's hard to put a general statement on this. But I think when it comes to the particular topic for today, I think taxation is definitely one way to work with it, but I wouldn't automatically jump to the conclusion it means raising taxes. I think we can lower taxes on VAT in particular for healthy and sustainable options. I think in particular in the context of Baltics and Latvia, I think that's definitely a big opportunity. And we have worked with governments in the past when trying to promote locally grown fruits and vegetables as a very reliable part in making sure that the reductions in VAT end up being passed to the customer. So I think that's definitely one area how we can promote in that food environment. The other thing is, I think when it comes to regulations, in particular when it comes to driving certain standards in the supply chain and then sourcing and packaging, it definitely has a role to play. As we have been trying to be a front runner in that area, when working with different partners and suppliers, often the kind of aspect where that is required legally or not comes into their decision making about upgrading certain standards, working on certain new solutions. So again, I think if we have a strong dialogue between the businesses and the government and discuss these particular regulations, I think they can be smartly used to really support that cause.
Yeah. In which areas would you rather not see new regulation?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure I can prepare to answer that right now. I definitely think that, as I said before, I think reducing certain taxation, in particular VAT, I think can be a very effective choice here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you have mentioned taxation and labeling as two policy instruments, and you were more skeptical with regard to labeling, or at least it has limitations, let's put it that way, whereas taxation, of course, is potentially a very strong instrument. And then we have a third instrument that you've been mentioning a lot also in your introduction, which is the food supply and the reformulation of products and that thing. So if we take these three together here as possible ways of influencing consumer behavior: taxation, labeling, and product development and reformulation. If I stay with you, Mitch, how would you see the relative role of these three in bringing about the green transition?
Well, when preparing for this conference, I did enjoy reading, Anja's shared material around food environment and the steps to promote it. And again, I think it needs to be a complex solution because, again, I struggle to see a kind of a magic bullet here. So I think it is a combination of all three. And again, I think we as retailers, we have our own part to play there. So when it comes to labeling, when it comes to working with our sourcing, with supplier standards, there's a lot of things we can and should do by ourselves, okay? Especially if we want to stand out on that. But again, I think we already discussed the taxation topic several times. I think that definitely is one area. But I also think in general on this awareness, I mean, there was recently in Latvia a great campaign I saw in the public sector calling fruits, veg, and water your superheroes, which was supported by the government. And I think such campaigns can be also great opportunities for the retailers and businesses to partner with the public institutions on promoting that. Because, in our store environment, we definitely know how to, set up promotions or, do certain things. So, again, I think beyond kind of regulations, I think there's also work we can do together on the awareness part.
Yeah. Anja, the same question to you. How do you see the role of these different sort of major instruments?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a mix of policies and it's a mix of actors. And when we think about, of course, we keep on seeing retailers as one of the main actors because this is where most of the choices are done. But in cities, you can also provide alternatives. So, for example, the role of local food market. Yesterday, someone said, bring the citizens or the consumer to farmers. I say, bring the farmers to the cities to also meet with the citizens. So this role of markets, but also the role of urban food production. Every time here they look at me like very weirdly, no, we don't want to bring the entire food production in cities, but reconnecting citizens with where how food is made, it's also fundamental. And there are quite a lot of examples, especially in this socially deprived neighborhood, on how much having food garden can support changes also in consumer behavior. So it is a mix of policies. And then I said there are the very strong one. Almere, Haarlem, nearby Amsterdam, has completely forbidden advertisement of meat products in the cities. Similar Amsterdam, as I now no more unhealthy advertisement in the city center or in all public establishment. So it is a mix of this policy. And then, as I said, it doesn't, labeling does not tackle economic access of food. So the fact that I know this is healthy, but it costs 3 times more, will not help me make the choice. Or even more, it's not only about cost, it's about the time. Most people do not have enough time to make conscious choices or to make food from scratch. So it's also about enabling them to have better choices or more affordable choices. So really this role also for affordability. And cities are now heavily investing in food security. Madrid, for once, 51 million euro now in food security. This is a direct outcome of COVID-19 and really this increase of people in need of food support, food help, which now, and especially a lot of people that before they didn't even know. So again, going to a person and say, look, this is healthy, this is fair trade, this is local, this is sustainable, it's a very limiting way of seeing citizens' choices around food.
Yeah. Maya, if I may come back to you, you've been mentioning these policy instruments. What would be your view about the role of manufacturers and retailers? And how much should be left to their own initiative and how much would need regulatory constraints?
I'm very glad to see how RIMI takes responsibility and sees its responsibility in the whole picture. Unfortunately, scientific evidence tends to point towards that effect of those responsible actors is limited if we don't have regulations. I don't like European regulations either. But unfortunately, in some cases, these are the things that work. They work for food reformulations, for manufacturers, for retailers, say, when it comes to product placement and things like that. So all these naturally involving systems are good, but they might take too long time before the customers get used to that. And as you mentioned as well, they simply don't have time. And they simply don't have money. And more importantly, they're not always making rational decisions. So my whole point here is that we can't look at the customer as a rational decision maker because food is something which is also an emotional thing. It's impulsive. And it's something that is traditional. And hoping that if we get all the information to the customer, making the right choices, it's probably not what is going to work.
Yeah, I mean, this discussion about how rational is a consumer is an old one.
It is an old one,
yes. We've been discussing that a lot over the years.
Yep.
And in the regulatory arena, as you know, this ideal about the informed consumer has been the icon for many, many years, which more or less assumes rational behavior. And today we realize that there are a lot of other things, as you mentioned, there are emotional reactions. Whether that's irrational is another question, but there are a lot of other things that people don't sort of make a lot of deliberation. But where does that leave us in our attempt here to encourage consumers to make sustainable choices? Is a consumer somebody who needs to be guided and nudged and is not able to make the right decisions, and therefore we need to do all kinds of things to push them into the right direction? Or what is the room for consumer empowerment and education and information and that type of thing? Could all three of you sort of come with your views on that? Maybe starting with you again, Mitch.
Yeah, I fundamentally believe that, there definitely needs to be choice, okay? And I think educated choices, right, is what we're striving for. And again, I think when it comes to also trying to work in this space to support customers in making healthy and sustainable choices, which is lots of things go in there, I think it is very often the manufacturers and retailers that also actually study and understand the customer behavior most, because that's what their livelihood depends on. So I think I really look forward that the continued discussion on how to do it in this partnership between public and private enterprise, I really look forward to continued dialogue, because I think definitely we have things to share, not only about what we do, but what we really see our customers do. And again, I think in all the important questions that we wrestle with nowadays, be it mental well-being, be it this particular topic, I think it is very important not to think in silos. It's not just one actor in that whole system that really makes a difference. It is about everybody taking responsibility for their particular part of, quote-unquote, the supply chain, right? So I definitely see the customer kind of needing to make choices that are available to them and then kind of invest in their own understanding and make conscious choices. But so do we as a retailer have a responsibility in who we source from, how do we put things, how we label, how we make it available, how we work on the affordability, but so does the supplier, so do the governments to promote that. So again, I think this is definitely a combined effort where we can't identify just one agent in there.
Okay. Anja?
Yeah, I saved the best for last. I think one of the biggest powers cities have is this power of partnership and really governance, bringing together these different actors at local level, because we need these different actors, different retailers to come together to maybe also nudge retailers to make different choices, or maybe support each other among retailers, but also I think we need food citizens. We need really to work on food citizenship, because again, it's not only about knowledge and information. This at local level, and I think at European level, we are heading there. So the soon to come Sustainable Food System Framework Law is identifying these different building blocks, and is actually identifying that we need to work on common labeling. Fair enough, maybe one label for across Europe will facilitate information. Then we need to also work on banning certain type of food. This is something that will also come up, but there is also the governance provision. So every country will be hopefully invited to work on a food environment policy, which also recognizing that we cannot only rely on labeling and taxation. Soon to come, September 2023, hopefully, if the European Parliament doesn't boycott more of upcoming Green Deal legislation.
Yeah. Maya?
Yeah, food literacy is important, because even if we go for a regulation, this regulation is still working on people, right? So give you two choices. There is somebody who is literal and knows sugar drinks are bad, and then you pose these restrictions, she perceives it in one way. And suppose somebody who's never been educated about that sugar drinks are bad, and then she has this restriction on her, probably her position with respect to the restriction and the government who poses them would be different. This government simply wouldn't be elected back, I'm afraid. So in that sense, it's very important to educate the customers, but I'm saying again, I don't think it's right to put all the responsibility on the last and sometimes the weakest link in the whole food chain.
Yeah, and I think we all agree that understanding the way consumers make decisions in different environments is a complex matter. And we already have seen in the discussion here that we have these different aspects about something is deliberative. Some consumers do read labels and react upon them. Some react completely spontaneously. And in the end, of course, consumer decision making occurs in an interaction between the environment, which we can change and regulate, and themselves, based on their own thinking and their reactions and so on. Which brings me to the question, which I also would like to ask to all three of you. Do you think you understand the consumer enough in order to be informed about the choices that you're making, for example, in your retail business, Mitch?
No, I would say like this. We continuously to strive to do it better and better, and every year we are reminded that there's more what we can do. So I would say we definitely understand our customer to a good extent, but we also see that definitely there's more work to do to really kind of continue to maintain that and invest in that. Just as an example, I mean, the past 3 years have been such massive shifts with different transformations for different reasons that it's sometimes very easy to be caught up in just reacting to what's happening outside. But again, we are retailer only succeed if we are able to meet the demands of our customers. So absolutely, there is more work to do, but we have done some things good so far.
Okay, Anja?
Yeah, I will say not all citizens are the same. Again, I will keep on referring to citizens, not consumers. And especially this is why cities are working towards this food council, because it's also necessary to create the space where citizens are heard. And ideally, not only the usual suspects, so usually the person that is in more interest in food system are women, over 40s, white, but really make an effort to reach out to all these different citizens and understanding what are their concerns towards food system. And then, of course, there are towards citizens that have to be protected. It's public policy role to protect them, like citizens and elderly. So this is really, you might have to do different choices compared to this different type of consumers or citizens and protect them.
Yeah. And Maya, you have seen these reviews of the evidence on consumer behavior with regard to food, which is informing this process, these recommendations that are now coming up. Do you feel now you have a good understanding of how consumers make choices?
Well, actually, Klaus, I should ask you, because you're the right person. You know, you've been studying consumer behavior all your life. Yeah. But I think behavioral economics is such a difficult discipline. So you would probably say we're not understanding well enough the customer. Just to point out perhaps one thing, what comes up from the evidence, that most of the evidence that we managed to collect, the expert managed to collect, is from Western European countries. So there's much, much more research done in Western European countries. Whereas we know at the same time in Eastern European countries that food traditions are often a little bit different. There's more still something said, you know, sometimes labeled old-fashioned ways of growing your own vegetables in your own backyard. And practices like that sometimes tend to be overlooked by Western practitioners. And we don't have so much data and so much evidence about that, how those customers are reacting. And I'm afraid also why, to some extent, Mitch and other people like you are shooting in the dark, because, you know, the analysis is simply not there on such a scale.
Yeah. And since you mentioned my own expertise in the area, I mean, I do know that we know a good deal of things about how consumer decision-making works. And I am convinced that not all of that is always used in decision-making in the actors in the food chain, and that goes for all actors. So that is certainly also an area that could be improved. But given the complexity of consumer decision-making, there are also things we don't know. And one of the things that are difficult are these interactions between the deliberative sort of thinking through, which we have to some extent, obviously, and then the spontaneous and the emotional, and then we have the multiple goals that people have, because for most people, making sustainable choices is not their main goal. They may take that as an additional goal since they have learned about the importance, but as you have been saying, there is taste and there's price and the family acceptance and maybe the health and a lot of other things, which is, makes this a really complicated area to deal with. Maybe we should take also some of the questions from the audience here. And a number of people are interested in the question to you here, Mitch, namely because you've been, in your presentation in the beginning, you've been mentioning what you've been doing with regard to encouraging healthy choices in terms of fruits and vegetables, and you've been talking about food waste. What about encouraging the consumption of plant protein? And I could broaden that question maybe, but generally about encouraging people to make more sustainable choices and not only healthy choices, beyond the food waste thing.
Well, when it comes to, in particular, sustainable choices, one of the ways we definitely work on that is the sourcing. Okay, so when it comes to who we partner with, in terms of broad range of sustainability, both ethics, responsibility, good governance. We definitely prioritize that, both in the products we source from other suppliers as well as in our private label, and we will continue to work with that. I think that is one of our kind of key goals by 2030, and also one of the areas we take very seriously in a broad range of sustainability topics. So I think that is mostly where a lot of the energy is invested right now. When it comes to other ways of trying to promote more sustainable choices, I mean, maybe this conference can give us some further ideas, but I would say this is where we have been focusing a lot of the effort. But to be also very clear, I mean, for example, the example I shared on fish, right, that we sell, but also kind of this good for life particular kind of labeling, it does also represent standards in sustainability, not just health.
Yeah. Actually, there's another question for you here, namely, what about exerting your purchasing power to make healthier products more affordable and the least healthy more expensive? It's a sort of taxation in the private sector, so to speak, right?
Well, I mean, I would say like that, I think we owe it to our customers to try to get the best deal on all the products we have, right? So I think in that sense, absolutely. I mean, we're trying to get the best deal with our suppliers and partners on all the product ranges. Again, I think the way to work with promotions is, I mean, if you take, for example, fruits and veg, I mean, there's different ways, right? One thing is when you have promo discounts, the other is always making sure that we have this weekly top 5. So when you walk into a store, you can very easily identify, top 5 selection of fruits and veg that are always available on a great deal. So we definitely try to already do things like that. And again, I think when it comes to further ideas, how to make that more attractive, again, I'll come back to the topic we talked on VAT. I think that definitely is one of the ways to kind of, on a permanent basis, make certain adjustments.
Yeah. Now, we don't have a representative of food manufacturers here, so we can also air our views and don't need to take into consideration of somebody being embarrassed here. Because in the past, I think many of the more sustainable choices that we have had coming out from the food industry have been viewed as premium products, have been viewed as a way in which you get some extra business, some extra value added for the segment of consumers who have a higher willingness to pay, are more affluent and so on. Obviously, there are limits to that approach when it comes to the green transition. Could have all three of your views on how we can combine the desire for more sustainable choices and the desire for affordability. If we start with you, Maya.
Well, again, my main line is that let's distribute the responsibilities, and food manufacturers are, one part of the chain, and definitely, again, they can be very responsible, and some of them, I'm sure they are. For the reasons they are not there, let's not throw all the blame on the manufacturers, because they also operate in the economic environment where, first of all, they have to survive, make some profit and be better than the competitors. And in that sense, again, the evidence shows that sort of a regulatory environment that forces, I hate that word, but forces product reformulation to all manufacturers so that you have even ground for everybody, is kind of seen as most effective based on the scientific evidence.
Okay. Yeah, Anja?
Yeah, so yesterday we had also an interesting panel on protein transition, and I was thinking that a lot of cities are now working on this protein strategy, also in cities where the sustainable option, usually the veggie meal, is the choice by default. So you cannot even have a choice anymore. So this is what's happening in few public canteens, where now you have only veggie day. But also very interestingly, even when you have the meat option, especially, you have chicken nuggets, half of it is chicken and the other half is protein, plant-based protein. So also to demystify some of this conception around the protein, plant-based protein, and the transition to it. So by working with children, of course, you then have an effect on parents and families, and also their purchasing habits. And then again, the role of urban planning, by providing the fresh fruits and vegetables widely available, because I don't know how many of you are familiar with this concept of food desert. So really area of the cities where you don't have access to healthy fruits and vegetables, and then how you can counterbalance it, maybe by also collaborating with supermarket, because there has been cities that have said, okay, in this area of my city, I clearly see a lack of fresh available choices, sustainable choices, so can I collaborate with a supermarket to come and move there, or other type of retailers, carts, and I think I was mentioning before this very cute initiative from the city of New York, giving free license for carts to go and sell fruits and vegetables in certain part of the cities, also the reduced price. Again, providing alternative option, or making the sustainable option the only available one.
Actually, there's a question here from the audience on food deserts, referring to that there are some grassroots initiatives in some of these areas trying to do something about it, and whether retailers and regulators should support them. I'm sure you have a view on that.
Well, as I said, definitely as cities, it's about bringing the citizens together, providing the space, or sometimes it's as little as providing a space for the citizens to come together, or the land. I mean, if we have issues with land outside of cities, imagine how much is the cost of land in cities. So cities are really trying to prevent land to go only for housing, and said, okay, no, this land is for you citizens to use and come together and work together for more sustainable food system and food production. So definitely in terms of support from regulators.
Yeah. Mitch, maybe you can react to that, and then also the question I started asking here about reconciling affordability and sustainability.
So 3 points then. Okay, so first couple, possibly a bit on the sustainability, affordability. I think there's a long-term aspect to it and a short-term aspect. I mean, short-term, what we know very well is that the affordability is often also a function of price perception, not necessarily real prices. We have been, for example, investing in a program here in Latvia to really make sure that we offer, probably the best prices in the market for, up to 600 different products. Yet we still see that our price perception is a challenge. Although we know our prices are competitive, equal, or even lower than the competitors in key categories, but the price perception is different. So when it comes to price perception, you work a lot with the look and feel and the impression things give. So I think definitely there is a way also manufacturers and startups can help us, which is how to ensure that all the great sustainable and healthy options do also come in packaging that signals more value, not just premium, which has been the trend to work with from the past. I think on the longer term scale, definitely we have very ambitious goals to halve the customer climate impact, to get to climate zero by 2030. And we're clear today that it will not be possible to do with the existing technology or with the way we adopt the currently available technology. So this will need innovation, this will need kind of figuring out new ways to apply it. So, there's a big question mark how we're going to get there on the journey, but that, I think, partnership with startups, innovators, etc., for the long term is very key. But on the short term, I think it is definitely a lot to work with, kind of ways to signal both ourselves as retailers, but as well use the public partnership to make sure that there are messages getting out there that there are great, healthy, sustainable options available with cheaper price, whether through promoting tax reductions, whether promote promotion deals, or have certain private-public campaigns. I think that's what we can do short term. Now, I will not pretend to be an expert in food deserts, but when it comes definitely to creating the space for how we step in, I think, and again, you may actually contradict me on that. I would really like to learn. But when it comes to the solutions used, for example, in the cities, creating more space for markets, right, or kind of inviting farmers and etc. The question that always comes to my mind with that: what is really the scale? Because I think when it comes to EU countries where largely you have modern trade, which is driven through retail chains, supermarkets, hypermarkets, kind of chain stores, this is where you get a lot of scale. So kind of once you really try to make an impact and be present with healthy and sustainable choices, my question is how much can you do with kind of ad hoc things around markets, etc., versus how much scale you can gain also by smartly kind of bringing in the right space, to have retailers present. And then again, I think we have seen also from our own action that once we get the assortment right in those places, so offer the type of assortment and the type of choices the local residents really respond to, then it's a win-win. I mean, the availability is there, but then also, of course, for retailers, there is a very clear business case.
Yeah. We've been in various contexts already been talking about the role of information, mostly with regard to labeling and the limitations and so on. But information is a lot of things. There are some questions about the audience about restricting certain forms of advertising, for example. For meat, there was a question about the role of consumer education. I mean, it's clear that we probably cannot bring about the green transition without providing also information environments that provide information and the right type of information in the right way and so on. Could you sort of broaden this discussion a little bit beyond this labeling aspect and get some views on how we can create information environments that are conducive to the green transition from the consumer point of view? Anja, maybe you first.
Yeah, so of course, cities are working quite a lot with the schools and other education providers in this food education, and it's really also done through the public procurement and the food that is available in the public canteen. I mean, there are fantastic examples of bringing, if with your public procurement you ask to bring 30 different type of apples in the schools, so the children can learn the variety, the seasonality, also the different use that you have with apples. This is coming from Copenhagen, that has been really working also with the local farmers. So the role of education, it's fundamental in also creating the citizens of tomorrow. And as I said, working with children doesn't mean stopping with children, also bringing what means also working with the families and what the children bring home to the family. So this creation of the citizens of tomorrow, basically. So it's really education. There is education remains a competence. This is also why the European Commission will not regulate on that, because education remains a competence of national member state, but it will really be advisable that food programs are encouraged or introduced in every European country, especially in schools, and also, mentioning the spillover effect it can have in other establishments. For example, when you have a public policy that sends a very strong signal, okay, now 2 days per week you're not going to have any more meat products in the public canteen, is really that you can see the spillover effect also in other type of establishment. For example, universities are not competence of cities, but you really could see the spillover effect and also the education that continues in other public spaces.
Yeah. All right.
Information is important, but it's not enough to have an information, and I think most of or all member states in Europe are doing pretty well educating children about nutritional facts, and all countries have their own nutritional guidelines which basically tell the same thing. And what we are not so good at is educating also children about food sustainability. We have nutritional guidelines, we mostly don't have sustainability guidelines. So those things could better come together. And I agree with Mitch also that sometimes the scale effect is even more sustainable. This local food business is great, but evidence shows also that scaling it up would also work also for sustainability. But why this local food consumption is good is exactly for educational perspective, because children or maybe also adults if they have this personal connection to the farmer who grows it, or even maybe a person who sells it, it's not information, but she all definitely can make more informed decisions after that. And this emotional attachment is not bad, because in my opinion, for me, food is a very emotional thing. And I think actually for many people, food is about emotions, it's about joy, it's about pleasure. It's not just making rational decisions. And in that sense, all these local communities, growing your own vegetables, it's very important educational aspect.
And I'll just build on that, because absolutely also locality for us. I mean, I haven't talked about that today, but locality is an extremely important aspect in our choice and assortment as well, including also information we try to display and promote in the stores. So definitely try to make sure that our customers in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania know the products that have been made or sourced locally here. Because again, I mean, food is extremely important. I would say it's even more important in the Baltic context locally. So I think absolutely working with that, making sure that local suppliers are, big and small, are present in our stores is of strategic importance to us. I think in information environment is always a tricky thing, because it's kind of very tempting to start to prohibit and restrict things. And then again, there needs to be a balance in the terms of, restrictions versus, how do you really drive the awareness to actually share what to do and how to do versus what not to do. So I think that is a very important aspect from our side, that I don't think restriction is always the answer. It's also about how to really smartly focus and then share information.
Yeah. We are about to run out of time, I can see here. Have a few minutes, yeah. Then maybe before we come to a final statement from all of you, because there's one thing we haven't covered at all in terms of food environment, and that is a digital environment. And that does play an increasing role also in consumers' food choices. How can we make the digital environment useful in furthering the green transition? As a retailer, you must have thought about that, Mitch.
Well, I think in particular in the digital space, I was just thinking about that when it came to these informational spaces. I mean, we invest a lot in actually educational materials around how to cook, how to create healthy, quick, cheap, affordable meals, etc. So I think absolutely the kind of digital ecosystem from where, I mean, the way we think about the shopping trip is we start to think from when the person is first having the thought, okay, what meal should I cook, or that I need to go do something. So how do we then help them get inspired, what type of meal they could cook, how that could meet their, in particular things they look for, including promoting healthy, affordable, and sustainable options. And then also the whole journey, then it already fuses into physical space when entering the store. How does our app look like? How do our digital scanning solutions look like? So yeah, absolutely, it's a thing we try to approach in a very complex manner.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the digital space is definitely one of the hardest ones to regulate, and there are a number of studies now that still don't understand what could be the effect of the digital space on citizens. It can have very variety of effect. On one hand, they say it can reduce impulsive buying, so it can bring more healthy and rational, sustainable, rational choices when you buy online. On the other hand, what happens indeed to this area of food desert? What happens when it's only very few big companies that can deliver food in certain environment? Are we leaving our entire food supply to only certain big companies? This is also something, it's more on a regional level or national level to really think about what will happen indeed to those areas that are less likely connected. So it's really something to think further about, but currently there are not enough studies understanding this impact.
Yeah, there are actually studies, as you say, that in some cases, making food choices in a digital environment can encourage deliberation compared to being in the supermarket. But obviously, as we say, there are also opposite tendencies that could work. Maria?
Well, I'm an Estonian, and as an Estonian, my answer to everything is let's digitalize it, and it solves also problems. But I'm afraid with food, some problems cannot be solved with digitalization. For example, you can't make food tastier, and taste is one of the choices that the consumers are making. But I'm sure, and with digitalization, there is a great potential in retails and optimizing the retails, and maybe by that also lowering the price, the scalability. So if there is a good combination with digitalization and all other mechanisms, it has to be one piece in the puzzle, digitalization, used in a clever way.
It can also be an opportunity to bring consumers closer to local producers. This scalability also bringing digital solution there. So there are a lot of also opportunities there.
I'll mention on that. We used to have a great partnership where we worked with one of the startups to actually create a digital solution that helps people scan the contents of their fridge and then figure out how to make great meals out of it to reduce food waste, things like that. So again, I think that is definitely, we also saw in the startup presentations today, some new ideas how to use AI to help with sustainability, things last longer, save logistics cost by direct delivery. So I think digitalization also in the back end of things can have a very positive effect.
I've got the sign here that the time is up, but I would like to ask each of you to use 15 seconds to say what do you think is the main challenge, the main thing we should do to change food environments to encourage sustainable behaviors. You go first, Maya.
I'm afraid my answer would be taxation. And I would leave also 10 seconds for Anja.
Okay, thank you. Clear. Anja.
Well, it's something that has been said quite a lot in the last 2 days. So there is not one actor alone that will change food environment. You need a variety of actors to come together, different levels of governance because of the different competence, different type of actors with different responsibility, empowering citizens that are not only consumers to make more sustainable and healthy choices.
Taxation, cooperation, and you say?
I'll go with the same theme as Anja. I think I'll go with dialogue. Because again, I think the challenge is complex, and only together by trying to understand each other, we can try to make the next step change there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much to the panel participants here.
Absolutely, thank you all very much, and a thank you gift to all our panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And of course, Klaus, for
Thank
your
you. And
able
before we
moderation.
leave the stage, let me once more make a short commercial for the new EIT Food Consumer Observatory. It was already mentioned yesterday. It is the EIT Food Initiative to bring about consumer insights that can help in the green transition. I think it's an exciting new initiative. And if you're interested, there should be a slide coming up right now with a QR code that maybe will happen in a second. But otherwise, just let me know, or some of my colleagues here will be happy to keep you informed. There it is. We will be happy to keep you informed about what you're doing, and we will be very happy to hear from everybody who is interested in consumer insights and hearing about which kind of consumer insights would be most important for your own decision making. Thank you. Yeah.
And I'm sure we can share that QR code via social media as well. We'll use the hashtag EITFood23 so no one misses out on any of the information, including the audience at home. We are going to take a short break now. This is your last opportunity, as it were, before the close, to please make those personal meetings using the app. You can go to the conversation starter. Can I have your attention, please, for just another few moments? Because after the lunch, we have 2 rounds of breakout sessions. So please double check, because you've got 2 breakout sessions back to back. So you'll have to run between rooms in some cases. So please remember to promptly move from one to the other. Our team here have quite a job doing all the scanning, so please make it easy on them. You should have already received your email, including your registration summary link on the breakout session you've chosen. If you want to change it, click on register, and that will allow you to change the breakout session. In the meantime, there's networking happening. Use Conversation Starter. The lunch buffet will be open from 12 to 1. The local foods and the startups are still available out there. And then after the breakout sessions, please come back here to the plenary room for 3 o'clock. And there's the QR code if you haven't already set up your networking session. So we'll see you back here at 3, and your breakout sessions start at 1.